All right, some of you were totally stuck the other day when you started out on our simple word game project, and I wanted to talk through how to approach that problem. So, one thing that's confusing is when you load the word game, I gave you some code to get you the word list, and I gave you code to show you how to pick a random word out. So this is all the starter code. For our purposes, getting started, if you're just like, I don't know how to start, this starter code is not going to help you. You're going to need it, but it's not going to help you. So if you wanted to, you could comment all of that out, and we'll come back to it once we understand it. So the thing I had asked you to do was to write comments for what you were going to have your program do. And if you're finding this hard, the simplest way to think about a program is that a program is the computer following a series of steps. So you give instructions in order, and the computer will carry out those instructions. Now, we've already practiced a bunch of things like if statements and functions that change the order the computer runs in. But still, when you're stuck, you can always go back to this basic idea. The computer will run what you tell it to run, one line at a time. So let's say that you wanted to make a basic text game. I asked you to play different word games, right? So let's imagine I want to play a game called Guess My Word. A simple thing to do is to write down the steps that you think the computer needs to follow to play Guess My Word. So in Guess My Word, the computer picks a word. So, and I'll just write a comment. The hashtag comment is plain old English for you. So I would say, computer picks a word. That's the first step. The next step is the computer asks the user to guess. Now in Guess My Word, if the user guesses a word that's before or after the word, the computer's going to tell it. So now I'm going to need some what's called conditional logic. So I would have like an if. So I'd say if the user has the word right, congratulate them, and end the game. Okay. If the user is wrong, tell them if their word... Oh, wait a minute. Now I've got another if statement, so I'm going to break it down. So if the user's wrong, if their word is before my word, right? Tell them it's before. If their word is after my word, tell them it's after. And then I'm going to repeat. All right. So what I have just done is thought through what does Guess My Word look like, right? So the computer picks a word, computer asks the user to guess. If the word is right, we congratulate them, and that's the end of the game. If the user is wrong, we repeat. If my word is before my word, tell them that. If it's after, tell them that. And then repeat. So if you get to this point, and many of you did not get to this point, if you get to this point, then everything else is just understanding how to put those things into Python, right? If you're not at this point, there's really no help that I can give you. So you want to think through, all right, how do I get to these comments first? So once you've written these comments, let me show you a few basic things. So in this case, line 15, the computer picks a word. All right, well, this is why I gave you this stuff up here that we'd commented out. So the computer picks a word. That means the computer has to store something, right? So I need to make a variable. So I'll give the variable a name. I'm going to call it computer word. If you're typing along, I recommend you give your variable a different name. Anytime you're copying from an example, it's good to change the name so that you're keeping names in your brain and not just copying words down. If you're copying words down, you're likely not learning. All right, so the computer word is going to be the random word. And here, I'm now going to need this code up here. So we're going to bring this code back and see what it does. I'm going to change this to all the words. And then look here, this is the random choice. That's the key little nugget that I needed. So all the words. All right, I brought this code back. This code here gets a word list from this place I put it on the internet. All right, this code saves that word list. So I get the word list and I save it in the variable all the words. And then computer word is random.choice of all the words. So that was the code that I'd given you in the beginning. I gave you that code because it's often the first step, is like the computer needs to pick a random word, right? Now the computer asks the user to guess. Well, did I put that into clear steps? Maybe not. So maybe it's going to be like print a welcome statement and then read a guess from the user, right? So for print, I'm going to use print. Welcome to my game. Guess my word. I have picked a word. You guess. So now, how do I read the guess? That's the input statement. So input, your guess. All right. And I probably want to run this game at this point to see if it works. Your guess is tuna. Great. So it worked. But anytime you have an input statement, you probably need to save, right? So if I'm saying read the guess, this input statement reads the guess and then forgets it because I didn't have an equal sign. Equals is how you save something in your program. So I'm going to say guess equals input your guess. And now let me go ahead and run that. Your guess, tuna. Now nothing has changed except that if I type guess, guess is now defined. So we have computer word, in this case it's footwork, and we have guess, tuna. Notice that in the console you can actually type and see the results as you go. Beautiful. So now the next statements, I'm going to have to try some if statements. So for an if statement, I say if, and now I can say a mathematical statement like equals or less than or what have you. So I'm going to say if guess, and this is where you might have to Google some help, right? You could Google if statement in Python or look back at examples from class, or you could watch this video. If guess equals equals, now what am I comparing the guess to? The only other thing I've stored, the computer word, right? Computer word. Print, you are correct. All right, so now I've tried that. Now one thing to notice is I'm going to keep trying things out as I go. So I'm going to run it. Oops, I made a mistake. I forgot the parentheses around my print statement. So it's a good thing I ran. Run. Great. Welcome to my game. Guess my word. I picked a word, you guess. Your guess. Tuna. All right, it didn't print anything. So did it work? Well, we have to see, was guess the same as computer word? I can type up here and check. Guess was tuna. Computer word was affliction. So no, it wasn't the same. Now I've got a 1 in 100,000 chance of doing this. So one thing I could do is I could cheat so that I could see if it works. So I'm going to try that out. I'm going to say hint, my word is computer word. And then I'm going to write debug here because I'm only using this to test, right? I'm not going to want that in my game or it'll ruin the game. So here we go. Welcome to my game. Guess my word. I've picked a word. You guess. Hint, my word is tiding. Oh, thanks. Tiding. You are correct. Great. So now I know if they type the right word, it prints out you are correct and I have succeeded. I can delete that hint line now, or I could comment it out. All right. Now, if they are wrong, so that's called an else statement. In other words, if the guess is computer word, do one thing, otherwise do something else. I can just type else. Or I could have typed if guess exclamation point equals computer word, which is not equals. But since I've already got this if statement, and I know if it's not equal, then I can just type else. Okay. Now, after every time you end a statement with a colon, we're no longer just running lines in order. We're controlling it. That's what the colon and the indent means. So when I type else and indent, everything here is going to be indented. That means that this code may or may not run, right? If you get it right, line 25 runs. If you get it wrong, line 28 runs, right? So that is kind of the difference, right? All right, beautiful. So if I got it wrong, I'm going to be down on line 28. And now here's my thing. If their word is before my word, well, how do I compare if a word is before or after? That's the good example of the kind of thing you might want to Google. So I'm going to Google Python. Oops, my Google search bar is outside, but I'm going to Google the words Python, compare word alphabetically, and see. Here's Stack Overflow, and here's a string comparison. This is pretty useful. So compare strings based on alphabetical ordering, or string comparison. I'll go to the textbook. Stack Overflow is a great source for programmers, but it can be a little rough for students. All right, and here's a textbook which is telling me you can check if they're equal here, with if word equals banana. That's great. Other comparisons are useful for putting words in lexicographical order. That is alphabetical order, except uppercase comes before lowercase. All right. So if word is less than banana, your word comes before banana. If word is after banana, your word comes after banana. Great. This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you, Google. So I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm going to paste it in here and say help from. And there's the URL I got help from. All right. Beautiful. Oops, it doesn't fit on the screen, but it's there. Beautiful. All right, so now I can use an if. So it said if, let me look back at that. Word is less than banana. Let's see. But word is not the word I don't care about banana, right? This is not what I want to do. I want to say if the guess is less than computer word. So I'm comparing if their guess comes before my word, print your guess is before my word. And now I can just say, oops, I lost my comment there. So that is this part, right? If their word is before my word, tell them it's before. And now if their word is after my word, tell them it's after. So now I'm going to say else, print your word is after my word. All right, and then if I want to see if this works, I probably debug. Oops, I keep forgetting this. Parentheses. Sorry, you can see my mistake. I'm used to, when I started programming in Python, you didn't put parentheses after print statements. So that's the mistake I always make. All right, print. The words were, and here I'm just going to print out again what the words are for debugging, which is to say, just to help me see if I did everything right. This is a lot of changes, so I should run the program and see if I broke something. Guess my word. I have picked a word. You guess. Your guess. All right, so my guess is tuna. Your word is after tuna, and it says the words were tuna streamers. QRST. So tuna is after streamers. Looks like it's working. Let's try again. ABBA. Your guess is before my word. The words were ABBA characterized. ABBA is before characterized. Beautiful. So my code is working. I feel pretty good about this. Now the last thing that's tricky here is it says repeat. So how do I repeat something over and over again? There are a bunch of ways. If you already know a way, you could stop this video right now and just make it repeat, all right? But let's say that I don't know a way. I could Google how to repeat it, or I could look back at our examples, or I'll teach you right now. So we've done for loops where we loop through every option of something. And we've done functions where you name something, right? We can also use a while loop. So what a while loop says is, while a certain condition is true, keep running the code. So first of all, we think, when does the loop start? So what is it we're repeating? Well, we're going to repeat the guess, right? Reads the guess from the user. So right up here. So here, I'm going to have to say while. Now, while then is like an if statement. It says, if this thing is true, keep going. So what is the thing that's true? That is a little bit tricky. I could just say while true, and it'll repeat forever. It's not what I want to do, though. So I'm going to have to create a variable to keep track of whether I'm going or not. So up here, I'm going to say my variable will be called keep playing, or I'll say keep guessing equals true. I could also make a counter if I wanted to have a limit of the number of guesses. That would be fancier, but let's just start with keep guessing. I need to set it to true or this code will never run. So while keep guessing, and now everything gets indented. So here's a trick. I can highlight everything that's going to repeat and hit tab, and it will all indent. Now it's all in the loop. Repeat. So there we go. This is now pretty close to working. You guess. Tuna. The words were tuna. Markdowns. Luckily, my debug is still in there telling me the word, so I'll say the right word now. Markdowns. You are correct. Your guess. Uh-oh. So let's see what happened. It told me that tuna was after the word, which it was. And then I guessed it correctly, and it said I was correct, and then it asked me to guess again. So I guess I need to make it not ask me again once I'm correct. So here I could say keep guessing equals false. And then at the very end, after the while statement, I can say goodbye. All right, so let's run this game now. I had to hit stop, by the way, because I was inside of a while loop. Oops, and I forgot the parentheses like I do every single time. Beautiful. Run again. Welcome to my game, Guess My Word. I have picked a word, your guess. Tuna. Your word is after my word. The words were tuna and parchments, okay. Banana. Your guess is before my word. The words were banana and parchments. Okay. Parchments. You're correct. Goodbye. Beautiful. Last thing I want to do is I don't want to actually print out the right answer, or this game won't be any fun. All right, so there is sort of a how to get started. I've read input from the user and stored it in a variable. I've picked a random word and I've stored it in a variable. I've written down my ideas as a list of steps, and then I've gone through each idea and put it into Python code. When I needed to get help, I used Google for help, and I put a comment in showing my teacher where I got my help and showing my future self, which is useful. Okay. I created my first while loop in order to make my game repeat an action. And I created a very simple game using almost no functions. I ended up using the one function that was given to me by my teacher, this get word list, which gave me the initial word list. There's a whole bunch of features you could add to this game. So I could make it so the user could play again. You could probably think of how I might be able to do that. I could also make it so you weren't allowed to guess a word that wasn't in the list. I could print the last word you guessed, lots of different options. But right now I have a working game. Let me just play it to show. Welcome to my game. Picked a word, you guess. Tuna. Your guess is before my word. Okay. Well, let's T-R-S-T. I'll go with violin. Guess is before my word. Zebra. It's between violin and zebra. Okay. Xanadu. After, between violin and Xanadu. VW. Waterfall. Before. Okay. Vivid. Before. Ooh, we're between. Vogue. I'm kind of cheating now. Guess is before my word. TUVW. Wah. Okay. Wob. Oh, waterfall was before. Oops. Well, I messed that up. I better stop this video before I embarrass myself. Unfortunately, there's no way out of my program until I get the right answer, but it appears the code is working. All right.